Howdy, folks. I'm Brian,
I'm Amber.
and here's some Reddit.
Ooh.
Amber has ghost
No,
fingernails.
the light's too bright. You can't see them. You can kind of see them.
Oh, if you point them down, yeah.
Yeah.
Amber wanted to show you her ghost fingernails.
Yeah. They're ghosts with bleeding eyes.
All right, so we're probably going to read 2 stories today, so not the 3 or 4 that we normally would, just to kind of give my voice a little bit more of a rest here. It's doing well. I'll explain what happened at the end of the video, maybe, if I'm feeling up to it. So why don't we just get started here? Am I a jerk for putting a padlock on my son's bedroom door? I'm a 41-year-old female, and my son is 22, left for basic training last Friday. I cried for days, and I miss him very much. He called once to let me know that he was safe, but I will most likely not get to talk to him for the next 12 weeks. I went to the grocery store on Sunday, and when I came home, I heard my daughter, a 16-year-old female, screaming at the middle son, my 20-year-old male. When I went to see what was going on, I saw my middle son carrying a laundry basket full of my oldest son's clothes and his PS4. I also saw my husband, a 42-year-old male, all of my kids' bio father, putting the rest of his things in garbage bags. My daughter was screaming at both of them to put everything back and that it was Trev's things and not garbage. I asked both my husband and middle son what in the world was going on. My son said his father told him that he could take what he wants. At that point, I was livid with both of them and said that this was still Trev's home and that until he told me otherwise, those things were still his and they would be kept in his room until he asks for them. My husband said it didn't matter. Trev was a man now and his home would be wherever the military sent him. I told my husband that he was being cruel to Trev and that this would always be his home. My daughter was hysterical at that point, and I told both of them that they were despicable for treating his room like a shopping mall. The next day, I went out and bought a padlock for his bedroom door, and I have one key in my glove box. The other has been taken to my office and is locked in my filing cabinet. When my husband saw the padlock, he flipped and told me that I was being overdramatic and that this was his house and that he could just take a crowbar and pry it off. I told my husband and Jeff that if I saw either of them in that room again or found that someone had tampered with the lock, they would be both out of the house. My husband is now calling me a grieving war widow, and my son is saying that he's entitled to the bigger room now that Trev is gone. Meanwhile, all of this drama is making Trev's leaving harder on my poor daughter, who is truly having a hard time with her big brother being gone. My husband is demanding that I take the lock off the door and let him clean out the room. I refused to do this and told him that the only way the room is getting cleaned out would be if Trev no longer wants to live here. Am I the jerk for putting up a padlock on the door?
The update is a little long, so kind of the key point to it, though, is that the son was just kind of being opportunistic. He wanted his brother's PS4, and the husband just was upset that his son was in the military and out of his way to protect him type of situation, and so he didn't like being reminded of his son's absence, and so he just wanted to get rid of everything so he wouldn't have to look at it.
Yeah. So this is a peculiar situation. I mean, I certainly would say that OP is not the jerk.
Yeah, I agree completely.
And the reason why I say OP isn't the jerk is because, this is still Trev's stuff. Just because he's in the military doesn't mean he's dead.
Yeah.
Then they're acting like he died or something like that.
Right, well, and they're handling it with, so little care. Even if he had died, you'd hope they'd be a little nicer about it than, let's just throw everything in the trash.
Yeah.
But he's still there. This is still his home he intended to be when he comes back. It's still his stuff.
Yeah, well, and the thing is, once he gets out of basic, he's going to be able to visit home, and he's going to be pretty irritated when he gets home and all of his stuff is missing.
Yeah.
And I mean, Like, I don't know what branch. Did it say what branch she went into?
No,
Okay.
I don't think so. I know that it says the husband was foreign military and he was in the Navy, but it doesn't say what branch the son is.
So, yeah, I mean, I think once he gets done with, I mean, the father should know this then. Once he gets done with basic, he's going to be able to visit home. I think he'll probably get like 2 weeks off. Generally, a lot of people get 2 weeks off unless you have specialized programs that, don't allow that. So he should be able to come home and collect his stuff and at least move some of it. He's not going to probably be able to move all of it because he's probably going to start living in a barracks or something like that. But like, he'll have some room.
Right. Well, and like, I feel like this is kind of like if you have a kid who goes away to college, like you wouldn't move out all their stuff, even though they're only using the room sparingly. So even if he's just home for like holidays or something, or occasionally, if you wouldn't do this if he was moving out in another situation, then it seems kind of cruel to do it here.
Yeah, and also, he hasn't finished basic yet. And like, people do fail out of basic, so what happens if he fails out of basic and then comes back to a ransacked room? What a miserable life that would be, wouldn't it? You're like, oh, now all my stuff is stolen too. So, yeah.
Maybe the husband though should get some therapy, as my guess. If his response to the son being gone is let's throw away all of his stuff, then
well, if he went into the Navy and then, like, if his parents treated him like this, then he may just not really understand, like, the proper way to act. And I'm not saying, like, I'm not justifying his behavior here.
No, that's why I'm saying he may need therapy, like, because his response to this is not a healthy way to respond to it.
Yeah, I don't think so. I agree with you. It's not a healthy response at all.
Our next story is, am I the jerk for carrying on with my knitting even though my husband thinks it's a grandma hobby? Okay, well, pretty much the title. My husband absolutely hates that I knit. He thinks I'm too young to be doing so already. He always pokes fun at me and hides my knitting needles around the house as a joke. Well, today we got in a bit of a row when he plainly told me that he wishes I had more fun and exciting hobbies that fit my age, and that it's not very attractive that his 23-year-old wife knits like a grandma. His words, not mine. I basically told him to kindly F off and shut myself away in our guest bedroom, and have been carrying on with knitting my sweater. He's really disappointed with how I reacted at the moment. I know I shouldn't have cursed at him, so I feel like a little bit of a jerk for that. Am I the jerk for ignoring his request and carrying on with my knitting?
Why OP are you knitting? What a grandma hobby. Like, that's so grandma of you, OP. Actually, I knew a few guys who actually knit, and one was a 19-year-old guy. He liked knitting a lot, and he enjoyed it. I don't think it's a grandma hobby.
Well, that's the thing, is like, I'm someone who has hobbies like kind of across the lifespan. Like, I run a craft blog, which some people might think is kind of a grandma thing, although my crafts are a little bit more on the side of the gory.
Yeah.
So, your spooky grandma.
Yeah.
But then I also like things that people think are too childish, like Pokemon. So, I get like both ends of that. Your hobbies are not right for your age. And I'm here to say that, like whatever hobbies you like, there's nothing wrong with liking knitting at any age. It's really impressive what people can make with knitting. Like, I know people who make things. I've had people make scarves for me and stuff, and it's all really cool. And so I personally don't know how to knit, but I have a lot of respect for people who do.
Well, what I want to know in this post is, what is an exciting hobby? Is he talking about, like,
binge drinking, maybe?
Binge drinking, rock climbing, skydiving?
Well, it seems like he wants her to do things that are more attractive. So what kind of like go shopping, like,
I don't know.
Drink? I don't know what hobbies look
Exercise.
Exercise, okay.
I can exercise. I'll count that as a hobby. Is exercise even a hobby?
Some people think it is. I personally think it's a chore.
I think at a certain point, you can make it a hobby. So like if exercise is like one of those things that you do all the time, then I mean, yeah, I guess that could be considered a hobby. I just do my little bit of exercise every day though. I wouldn't consider it a hobby either.
Yeah, it's definitely not a hobby for me. But yeah, if you like exercising though and you count it as a hobby, that's cool too. It's just not a hobby for me. It's a thing I do so I don't die as young.
Yeah, what about musical instruments? I mean, those have been around since like forever, right? Wouldn't those be like a grandma hobby?
Well, like the thing is, people of any age can do any hobby, so any hobby could be a grandma hobby.
Yeah.
I mean, there are grandmas who are probably making the same bloody crafts that I make. You know.
Well, and I think the moral of the story is that do what you like. I mean, I think that's a reoccurring theme on this channel is just do what you enjoy. And I mean, it's not hurting anyone. She's not out murdering people. That's not her hobby.
Right. Well, and why does it bother your husband so much? Like, he's the one who needs a, to
He needs a new hobby.
Yes.
Other than hiding her knitting needles.
Yeah.
He's the one who needs to find something to do with his time, not her.
Is he afraid that people will see his wife knitting and they're going to be like, oh, your wife is knitting. She's not out there drinking like everyone else. Like,
she'll knit him a body bag. That's horrible to say. That's where she hides the bodies.
This is not husband number one.
He hid my knitting needles one last time. For the last time.
He ran into my knitting needles. He ran into my knitting needles 10 times. 5
imaginary points to the first person who can identify where that quote's supposed to come from. All right. Our last letter is titled, Am I a Jerk for Refusing to Let My Dad See My Daughter After He Disowned Her? I'll make this short because I understandably hate talking about this. My wife is a 38-year-old female and I am a 32-year-old male, and we've struggled with miscarriages. We've had 3 along the way with other health issues. We were desperate for a baby together. We've struggled for years, and thank goodness we were lucky to find out that we were expecting a baby girl. My parents were thrilled, especially my dad. He bought clothes, toys, and checked on us, and he made sure he was there to support us and his future granddaughter. Our daughter was born with a defect, Down syndrome. My wife and I knew that we had many challenges in the future, but that didn't make us less excited or unhappy. My dad, however, had an awful reaction after he found out. He kept bringing up that it was my wife's fault, that I should have married a younger woman, which was an awful thing for him to say. He said that he didn't want to have anything to do with this. He distanced himself and stopped talking to us and visiting us and took the stuff back. I cut contact. Well, good for you.
Yeah.
The best thing out of this so far. But my mom visited regularly. This happened years ago. My daughter is now 3. I'm in contact with my sister, and she has a 1-year-old son that my dad spends a lot of time with, posts pictures of on social media, and brings gifts to. I couldn't help but feel hurt and angry. He didn't even try to reach out, and it's been years. Recently, I heard my sister got in an argument with my dad. She moved out of state, and he didn't want her and her husband to move so he could see his grandson. My mom would visit and talk about how frustrated and mad my dad is. Despite telling her to drop it, she mentioned that my dad wants us to visit so he could start spending time with his granddaughter. I asked her what granddaughter because for 3 years he disowned her, and for her entire life he's been acting like she doesn't exist. I can't remember the number of nights when I woke up to my wife crying because of what he said. Now my mom is calling me cruel for not agreeing to let him near my daughter. I argued with her, and I saw that others started reaching out, wanting to set up a meeting, but I refused to go. They're saying that I'm robbing him of a relationship with my daughter, ignoring that it was a decision he made 3 years ago. Am I the jerk here? The issue has been causing everyone around me to point fingers at me, saying I'm being bitter and preventing my dad from having his granddaughter in his life.
No, Opie, you're not the jerk here. Your dad is a huge ableist jerk.
You know, I do agree that they have every right to be like upset with this, and I think that they, of course, are allowed to do this if they want to. But I think if the dad is truly remorseful, like if he's really actually sorry, and this isn't just a, oh, now I am down one grandkid, so I'm now going to visit the backup grandkid, the defective one, then I can understand like him making a mistake,
I can't. I think I might have to disagree with you a little bit here. First of all, I think that he is not doing this out of a genuine desire to fix his wrongdoings. He's doing it out of, oh, my good grandchild is gone, so I guess I'll make a send an olive branch, which I know you were saying if it wasn't the case. I think that is the case, but also even if it's not, like, people can be remorseful for things, but that doesn't mean you have to forgive them.
And I didn't say that that they needed to forgive him. I said that they're well within their rights here to basically not extend an olive branch here. I think for me personally, it really depends on his motivation. Like, it's not really clear from here. I think there are some undertones, and but to me, it's not clear if he's like truly remorseful. And like, he did some really awful things. Like, he took away all the stuff that he gave them. He disowned them. He didn't talk to them for 3 years. Like, this is just really unforgivable behavior in a lot of ways.
Yeah, well, and what if the sister moves back into the area, or, is he just going to drop this other grandchild again because she's not what he wants?
Yeah.
Like, my big concern, I think it's probably, in some ways, best if Opie doesn't let him back into her life because, with how severely badly he reacted.
Yeah.
There's no saying that, and he's hurt Opie's wife too so much.
Oh, of course,
and just for clarification, like, first of all, it sounds like Opie's wife was 35 when she gave birth, so that's not even
old. So old.
But the increased chances of birth defects with age are fairly minor. There is an increased likelihood of having children with birth defects with older aged parents, and it can be either parent, the mother or the father, both do have some increased risk. But it is not a guarantee that if you have a child when you're 35, your child will have a birth defect. It's not even the likely outcome.
Yeah, well, the measure that I've heard is that at 40, your odds of having a birth defect double. And I think that it doubles from like 0.5% to 1%.
Yeah, it's something very small.
So, like, it's not like a guaranteed birth defect. So
right, and so this is just genetics. It's not really, you can't pin it on OP or his wife. It's just something that happened, and they have a perfectly lovely child. And the fact that the grandfather wants to disown her because she has a disability is really despicable.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I think that just was completely uncalled for. And I really do honestly hope that he's truly remorseful. And, like, I hope that he's kind of wanting to turn a new leaf. But I also don't think that all the other family members in the situation should be trying to reach out to them and guilting them into letting him visit. I think they're all handling it, that the family is handling this very poorly.
I agree that they're handling it very poorly, and they don't seem to care that all the hurt that he caused Opie and his wife all this time. Like,
I mean, where were they when he disowned them?
Right.
Like,
why weren't they on his case and telling him not to do it? Why did they just let him disown and keep hanging out with his, perfect grandchild?
Yeah, I mean, I also think that in some ways the rest of the family is a little culpable for basically not, distancing themselves.
Yeah, like if I were in the sister's position, I would hope that I would tell, my parents, like, no, you can't visit my child if you don't recognize your other grandchild.
Yeah.
Like, it's really kind of like they all were even if they weren't personally distancing themselves, they were fine with him distancing himself. They weren't trying to like have him, have suffer any consequences of not wanting this child in his life. I mean, he literally called the child a this.
Yeah.
Like, not even treating her like she's a person because she has a disability. And so that's why I have a lot of hesitations about letting this man into her life, because it sounds like he just misses the relationship he had with his grandson, and he's like, he may have.
Well, I mean, I think like if he didn't have some change of heart, then he wouldn't have wanted to reach out at all. That's the way I see it. And I don't know anything about this man, other than like what was written in here. He sounds monstrous in a lot of ways, but I do personally believe that people can change, and I think that people can have changes of heart and hopefully, realize their mistakes. And like if, for instance, he has a change of heart and he sees his granddaughter and like he develops a relationship with her, then I think that would be a wonderful thing, as long as this wasn't like a vengeance relationship,
Yeah, but why did he wait until his grandson moved? Like, that's my thing.
We don't know what they argued about. Like, maybe the argument was actually about the granddaughter. And, the sister may very well have been feeling very uncomfortable about the whole relationship if, for instance, he disowned the other grandchild.
It's possible. I mean,
the child was only one.
Yeah.
So it's not like he was 15 years into a relationship with them. I mean, there's just a lot of unknowns in a period. But again, I think we're both in agreement that, what OP did here is certainly unforgivable, and that they're well within their rights to kind of like keep distancing themselves.
Yeah, and that, in my opinion at least, it's probably best to distance yourself from him unless he very demonstrably, without the child around. You don't want to expose him to the child first. The first step would be, if you did want to have a relationship, sitting down with him, you and your wife.
Well, probably like a family therapy type situation with some kind of third-party moderator to kind of help them work through their issues.
And make sure, because, even if he has had some change, there's still probably a lot of lingering ableism in his, because that was a very horrible reaction he had. And even if he wants to change, he may not know how to change well, and he may not know how to be a good grandfather to this child. So probably there definitely would need to be some tremendous effort on his part to kind of unlearn that ableism.
Yeah. All right, folks, that's all the time we have for today. I hope you enjoyed today's video. So, again, kind of my whole voice situation. I'm not sick. I don't have a cold. I strained my voice. So the thing is that I actually was trying to take, singing. Well, I don't know if you would call it lessons. Like there's a program that I was trying to learn how to sing better. Musician is actually the program I was using. Well, the thing is, I don't really sing a lot, and so I didn't realize you're really supposed to warm up your vocal cords and stuff like that, and before you start singing, and I ended up just straining my voice. It's not like I'm severely injured, and I mean, my voice is actually a lot better today. I'm just kind of taking it easy, trying not to talk too much, and hopefully tomorrow my voice will be perfectly fine. I don't expect there's going to be any issues here. But yeah, I guess I know when you're exercising, you're of course supposed to warm up a little bit and not supposed to dive straight into exercise, but I was never taught that you need to warm up your vocal cords before you sing, because I never had any music lessons really as a kid.
Yeah, well, 4 years of chorus, that's one thing I get out of it, was you're supposed to warm up your voice. Can't sing, but...
See, she didn't tell me I was supposed to warm up my vocal cords either.
I didn't really know you were doing it. You were just kind of you do your guitar lessons and your singing lessons in here while I'm out there, so I wasn't paying attention.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's all. It's not a big deal. I'm not, dying or anything like that. Yet. No, just kidding.
That was really morbid. Let's hope we're not.
So yeah, no, everything's fine. But thanks for everyone who's said something about it. I appreciate your concerns here. So yeah. Again, thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, consider giving me a thumbs up. If you dislike this video, consider giving me a thumbs down. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you all tomorrow. Amber with her ghost nails.
Ooh. Ghosts. You can't see them again. There. Are they upside down? Did I have them upside down the whole time? I think I did. Yeah. My ghosts were upside down. Now they're right side up. I thought there was something wrong. I was like, that doesn't look right. Okay. There. Ghosts. With bloody eyes.